You know that feeling when you first step into a forest? That first deep breath you take, and it just feels different, cleaner, better. Well, it turns out there's some really powerful, invisible science going on there, turning the simple act of breathing into something like medicine, especially for our lungs. Okay, let's get into it. I love this idea of a silent dialogue. It's not just that the air is fresh, it suggests that there's a real conversation happening, between the ancient life of the forest and our own cells. So it makes you wonder, right? If our body's listening in, what's the message? What is the forest communicating through the air that has such a huge effect on our health and especially on our respiratory system? That's exactly what we're going to break down. So, to figure out what the forest is saying, we have to look at the messenger itself, the air. And what you find is that it's not empty at all. It's actually a complex delivery system, almost like an invisible language, carrying chemical signals straight from the trees to our lungs.
Think about that unique smell of a forest, that piney, earthy scent. That's not just a nice smell, that's the proof. It's the aroma of this rich, atmospheric soup of compounds that the trees are releasing. These invisible molecules, they're the actual words in the forest dialogue.
So, what are these secret ingredients in the air? Well, decades of research, a lot of it pioneered in Japan with the practice of Shinrin-yoku or forest bathing, have actually identified the specific compounds that make forest air so incredibly therapeutic.
Okay, meet the star of the show, phytoncides. The name literally means plant-derived exterminator. See, trees release these compounds into the air to fight off nasty stuff like bacteria, fungi, and bugs. And here's the kicker. We're breathing in the tree's own immune system.
Now these names, alpha-pinene, D-limonene, they might sound super technical, but you absolutely know their smells. Alpha-pinene is that classic, iconic smell of a pine forest, and D-limonene, that's the sharp, fresh scent you get from citrus peels. So when you're walking through the woods, you are literally inhaling the tree's protective armor.
And this is where it gets really incredible. Our bodies don't just, ignore these signals. They hear them loud and clear, and they respond with a whole bunch of real, measurable changes.
Just imagine it for a second. These phytoncides enter your lungs, they pass into your bloodstream, and they travel all through your body. Your immune system, it recognizes these ancient signals and just wakes up. It goes on high alert. And our primary responders? They're these amazing things called natural killer cells, or NK cells for short. Think of them as the frontline soldiers of your immune system. They're constantly on patrol, hunting for threats like viruses and even tumor cells.
And here is the punchline. Groundbreaking research found that after just a 3-day trip, just walking in a forest, people's natural killer cell activity shot up by nearly 50%. 50! Let that sink in for a second. That's a massive boost to your body's frontline defense.
And the best part, this isn't just some quick fix that wears off in a few hours. No, this effect has legs. That powerful immune boost can last for more than a week after you get back to your normal life. Some studies even suggest the benefits can stick around for a whole month.
So not only does the forest air supercharge our defenders, it also disarms the things that suppress our immune system. It seriously lowers our levels of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. It's this powerful 1-2 punch for our overall health.
Okay, so let's zoom in and focus specifically on our respiratory system. Because for our lungs, this whole thing isn't just a general wellness boost. It's like a direct therapeutic treatment. I mean, for millions of people who suffer from conditions like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and asthma, the air they breathe can be a constant threat, a source of inflammation. Forest air, though, it offers a kind of natural antidote. And you can see the results right here. In studies with older folks at risk for COPD, a trip to the forest led to a huge drop in key markers for inflammation in their blood, things like C-reactive protein, but at the exact same time, their blood oxygen saturation, which is basically how well their lungs are working, it actually went up. So less bad stuff, more good stuff. It's that simple.
And it doesn't stop there. Other studies have found all kinds of benefits. Better scores on lung function tests, less airway inflammation for teenagers with asthma, and even what's called a bronchodilatory effect. That's just a fancy way of saying these natural compounds actually help open up your airways, making it physically easier to breathe.
Now, to really get a handle on how powerful forest air is, you gotta compare it to what most of us are breathing every single day. And the difference isn't just slight, it's fundamental.
It really boils down to this. Forest air is defined by the presence of something good for you,
these healing phytoncides. City air, on the other hand, is defined by the presence of something harmful, pollutants from traffic and industry. One is basically a therapeutic environment, and the other is a source of constant stress for our bodies. And this table just puts it in black and white. Phytoncides from healthy trees, they're anti-inflammatory, they help us. Particulate matter from pollution, well, that causes inflammation and tissue damage. I mean, the choice is pretty clear. The health of our lungs is directly, undeniably linked to the health of the environment we're in.
So what does this all add up to? It suggests that our need for nature, it's not just a preference or a nice to have. It's a deep biological necessity, practically written into our DNA.
This is the whole idea behind the biophilia hypothesis. It basically says that because our species evolved in nature for millions of years, our bodies are still hardwired to thrive in it. At our core, we're creatures of the forest, and our biology shows it. And when you look at it that way, all the science we've been talking about makes perfect sense. Of course our immune cells respond to phytoncides. They've been evolving alongside them forever. This isn't some new age wellness trend. It's just a return to our evolutionary home.
Which leaves us with one last really big question. If the air from healthy forests can help prevent disease, boost our immune systems, and literally soothe our lungs, then shouldn't we start thinking about protecting our forests as a fundamental part of public health? It seems the best prescription for our lungs might not come from a pharmacy after all, but from a forest.